31st Sunday in ordinary time of the year B, November 3rd, 2024. In our readings today, the basic principle of the commandment is love. Whether Moses is called on his disciples to keep God's commands so that they may live, or when Jesus broke it down to the law of love of God and their neighbor. Reflecting on the 10 commandments, the first 3 speak about our relationships with God, and the rest of the 7 refer to our relationships with one another. It portrays God who loves us and wants us to remain in relationships with His creations. He enjoins us to do the same with one another. God, in His eternal purpose, wants His command written in our hearts, minds, and souls with undivided attention, not haphazard, so that it can remain with us day and night, 24/7, 365 days, and does not depart. Similarly, unlike the priesthood of the Levites, which is limited, the priesthood of Christ, which is eternal, lives to intercede for us. Our love for one another is to imitate the sacrificial love of Christ, who eternally gives Himself for all. We can keep God's Spirit alive and all around us through our virtuous acts of love, goodness, kindness, mercy, charity, patience, joy, and peace. For quite some time in our gospel reading, Jesus was on a journey to Jerusalem. At this point, Jesus had entered Jerusalem and upset the tables of the money changers and men selling and buying in the temple area. As a result, the number of those who oppose Him is growing, and they are looking for a way to convict Him. It is another sign we do not always accept the love that God gives us. The scribes, the Pharisees, custodians, and Sadducees sought ways to convict Him of one thing or another. At first, they wanted to know if it was right to pay tax to Caesar. They tried Him on the belief of the resurrection of the dead. And today, they came up with the question, which is the first of all the commandments. It is the third test Jesus faced since He entered Jerusalem. Again, Jesus speaks about the love of God and neighbor. He calls for the undivided love of God. This means we are to love God totally with our whole hearts and to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. His response came from Deuteronomy 6, verse 4-5, and Leviticus 19, verse 18. As the high priest, Jesus showed us the meaning of love by His commitment to His Father's will, His obedience to His mission, and His love for us, His death on the cross for our salvation. Jesus loved passionately without sin, as St. Paul said, He is holy, innocent, undefiled, separated from sinners and higher than the heavens. Where there is no love, there is nothing. Our invitation is to listen to God's words, obey them, and put them into action in our relationship. The actual test of our love for God manifests itself in our dealings with others and vice versa. That is when our treatment of others shows our reverential fear of God. One cannot profess to love God, he cannot see and hate his neighbor, as the scripture admonishes us. In God, there is no hate, for God is love. What you hate for yourself, it tells us, do not do to your neighbor. Likewise, one who does not know or has not loved before will always see love as a theory. Love is innate in us, and even a child can feel it. It is such that one does not need a ton of wisdom to show love. But not until you feel it and understand what it means to love will you give it back in return. As said in time without numbers, one cannot give what one does not possess. Jesus sacrificed himself for our sake by sharing the Trinitarian love with us through his suffering, death, and resurrection. For our God is a community of love. If we follow him, we will walk in his ways by loving God and those we meet wholeheartedly. We should note that even when we try to love and fail, we are assured of his grace. As a result of our weakness, his mercy abounds forever. Granted, sin have ripple effects, but his mercy abounds forever through the sacraments of penance and reconciliation. As intentional disciples of Christ, we resolve to choose love above sin. As we celebrate today, may we sing with the psalmist at this holy Eucharistic celebration. I love you, Lord, my strength. Jesus continues to gather us at his Eucharistic table in the worship of our God, our rock of refuge, where he forever blesses us and intercedes on our behalf. Happy Sunday and have a blessed day.